Freedom's greetings, Helldivers. Ervin here to bring you my best tips and tricks for the Servants of Freedom patch in Helldivers 2. This update came with some exciting new gadgets and mechanics that we hadn't previously seen to wrap up our first year in the game. And with those fun new mechanics and gadgets comes new niche fun interactions and ways to utilize them to our advantage against our enemies that we'll be covering in detail today. If you watch this video to the end and you don't get anything useful out of it or learn anything new, then I want you to actually dislike the video, as I've wasted your time, and that's not okay. If I do manage to teach you something new, though, you might as well like the video. And if I manage to teach you three new things, well, you might as well probably subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. With the introductions concluded, though, on with the tips. First, let's talk about the GP31 Ultimatum and how to get the most out of it. The 4500 damage makes it the highest personal damage weapon in the entire game at the moment, but 3500 of that is in the projectile itself, not the explosion. And only a direct hit from the shell has the demolition force to burst jammers and detector towers. And with that very limited ammo supply, we need to make sure our shots are counting. There are two extremely reliable ways to always hit your target with this launcher that you might have not been aware of. Normally, firing the ultimatum requires careful consideration as far as the elevation you should fire the weapon at to hit your target based on the distance to the target. But by using the raise weapon emote, you can ensure any target 40 meters away will be hit when you fire guaranteed every time. Simply get in range, ping the target to confirm the range, and let it rip. Granted, that is far less range than you can potentially hit from the standing position when min-maxing the elevation of the shot. But this next tip for firing the ultimatum removes that issue as well. By swapping weapons and firing the very moment the ultimatum enters your hands, you fire the weapon while it's slightly elevated, and while it's adhering to bonus momentum as it becomes readied. Due to this extra momentum, the ultimatum will consistently fly 60 meters out from your current position, 15 more meters than what you can normally get whenever you're firing from the standing position, and the same distance achieved by diving while firing the weapon. Lastly, you can get even more distance by utilizing the ultimatum alongside the jump pack. This is going to require you either manually adjust the elevation of your shot or fire using the weapon swap tech. But jump packing in place and min-maxing your firing distance can achieve shots as far as 70 meters away, and shots made while jump packing forward as far as 80 meters away from the point where you fire the weapon. This is especially true when using the weapon swap tech, achieving some pretty absurd trick shots as a result. Notably, during the tests, I did check to make sure that throwing range armor isn't affecting this weapon's maximum range, just to be sure, as you never know, and I am happy to report this rumor is false, and that the armor currently does not affect your maximum range with the ultimatum. That is enough about the new launcher for now, though. Let's get to talking about the all new Bile Titan holes that have been springing up in large bug nests and mega nests. These new spawners will produce infinite waves of Bile Titans if left unattended, but will only begin to do so once they've been alerted to a Helldiver. But how the hell does a hole in the ground get alerted? Well, in Helldivers 2, if it pings in red, it's an enemy as far as the game is concerned, and enemies can see and hear you. Yes, even holes in the ground. If you're beyond the range the hole can detect your presence, or have otherwise not yet engaged the enemies in the immediate area, nothing will spawn out of the hole. But how do we get rid of it? Standard grenades and even the recoilless rifle are ineffective. That's because the Bile Titan holes require 40 demolition force to destroy. This is the hidden stat that determines what can and cannot destroy a structure, and not necessarily just because a weapon causes an explosion. The demolition force of your grenades and recoilless rifle are only 30, so those are out. But personal weapons like the spear or stratagems like the airstrike are perfectly effective due to having 40 demolition force. The new ultimatum, or the 500 kg, or even the direct impact of a gas strike shell are some more effective examples due to them having 50 demolition force. If you want to check in and have a look at what all weapons are effective at destroying this new spawner type, then head over to the helldivers.wiki.gg where they've got this information listed on each and every weapon and stratagem in the game. Now's as good a time as any to study up on this information, as every team is going to want to be taking this new spawner into consideration at the loadout screen going forward. The new combat axe is the new highest DPS melee weapon in the game, dealing 110 damage per swing with the fastest swing speed shared by the stun baton, which only deals 50 damage per swing baseline. But what makes this weapon particularly useful is the fact that all melee weapons in Helldivers 2 do not actually respect armor ratings. Melee weapons deal their damage as a form of damage over time effect as they pass through the enemy, dealing portions of their total swing damage during ticks as they pass through the target. So the longer the weapon passes through the target, the more damage they actually take. This means melee weapons can technically kill any enemy through armor ratings and pass through plates of armor like those on chargers, harvesters, overseers, and so on. The combat axe in particular has a fantastic breakpoint for dealing with hordes of voteless as well. There are three tiers of voteless that all have various amounts of health, but all three have the same weak knees, with legs that only have 80 health apiece. Because the axe deals 110 damage, this extremely consistently can kneecap enemy voteless, leaving them pretty much as good as dead as they slowly bleed out, allowing you to control hordes with ease. So, give the axe a spin and aim for the knees, everybody. That's going to be hands down your best bet for consistent effect on target, no peak physique armor needed. Oh, and on a final bonus tip as far as melee combat goes, if you're bringing the ballistic shield into battle now, as it can block melee attacks finally wholesale, remember you don't necessarily need to raise your shield towards the target. When you're swinging your axe, the shield is still protecting your left flank, and you can use that to your advantage while retaining better mobility. Also, remember to use it as a turtle shell to protect your back from incoming fire. This can greatly aid your ability to valiantly reposition away from the enemy or get reloads off while you take fire from the enemy in the open if you crouch down. If you're dealing with a lot of voteless, though, bring out the good old Flamethrower, which, unknown to many, received the ergonomics improvement the sterilizer received by proxy, meaning this thing now swivels and spins instantly, making it pretty much the most responsive weapon in the entire game. If you hadn't picked the Flamethrower up for a bit and felt like it was sluggish before, recommend giving it a try, especially against the Illuminate, where one application of fire damage over time will bring every tier of voteless down through bleed out or just kill them outright, making for some easy kill streaks. Next, let's talk a bit about the G50 Seeker Drone Grenade and some of the highlights and best use cases for bringing this thing along. So, the obvious issue with taking this grenade is, unlike every other explosive in the game, you're not going to be able to make it clear fabricators or warp ships for you. But what it can do is pretty unique. When deployed, it will hover near the Helldiver for up to 30 seconds after its deployment before the battery dies. During that time, if it detects an enemy within 60 meters of itself, it will fly into them and detonate on a proximity trigger for 400 AP4 damage. You can also direct what target you want this grenade to seek out by pinging them, and it will follow that order, assuming the order is within 60 meters. Easily the best use case for this grenade as a result is going to be taking out gunships. One drone and it's lights out for a gunship each time. So, not at all a bad idea to equip a Helldiver with these in the loadout screen for those gunship patrol missions. Beyond that, although they cannot tag fabricators, they can tag sub objectives that are marked as enemies by the game system. So, objectives that highlight red when you ping them, such as enemy mortars or anti air, can be destroyed with two drones each from 60 meters away in a pinch. They can also go through and ignore harvester shields, only detonating based on proximity to the harvester itself, which is pretty cool. Lastly, you guys have probably noticed Arrowhead accidentally broke swivel speed across the board for all weapons, leading to some super goofy looking interactions where you can fire bullets out your Helldiver's ass and in random directions the barrel is not currently pointing, making some precision based weapons with slower swivel speeds, like, say, the AMR as an example, a bit more annoying to use than normal, as you can't trust what your scope is aimed at 100% of the time, especially when moving quickly. To get around this for the time being, this is a PSA to use weapons that naturally have good ergonomic values, like, say, the Tenderizer does. Good swivel speed weapons will make this broken mechanic much less obvious and less intrusive in your gameplay, while weapons like the heavy machine gun will make your game feel borderline unplayable. Using the peak physique armor passive to further cut down on the discrepancy between your swivel speed and your aimer drag will also aid against this bug until Arrowhead has had a chance to fix it, likely sometime this or the following week. And that is going to do it for my best tips and tricks for the Servants of Freedom patch. How did I do? Did you learn something new? Or am I washed up and deserve to miss out on the Arrowhead birthday party? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you to my coffee supporters who help keep the channel going, and thank you for watching till the end. I'll see you next time.
Irvin, you were right. Kneecapping them is extremely satisfying.
Yeah. You feel like powerful, like in control, and that is very rare in Helldivers too.
Very much so.
Yeah. Anytime. Ah!
Oh.
Ah!
Okay, I
I'm okay.
did not know that happened.